Algebra 2, what's going down? We're doing the quadratic formula. There's no way around it. So you've heard about it. Maybe you've even seen it before in Algebra 1, but we are going to attack it now. And hopefully, I'm going to take it in a progression. I coach little kids football. And anytime we introduce a new concept, we start with like the easiest possible thing. And then slowly but surely, we ramp it up until they're tackling each other. So maybe we start with them just laying on a bag and learning how to fall. And then next we teach them how to stand up and hit a bag and then fall. And then we work to getting away from the bag and running forward. So it's this progression where we're getting slowly but surely to where they're running and tackling each other. That's how I'm going to handle the quadratic formula with you guys. We're going to start small. We're going to break it up in little chunks. And actually we have been with the discriminant. That's one of the progressions. That's one of the little things that shows up in the quadratic formula. So without further ado, let's learn about the quadratic formula. Not a lot of prepared notes here. I have the sheet with some problems, and we'll go through one of them. But first, let's just introduce what the quadratic formula is. The quadratic formula is a combination of two things you know. I don't want you memorizing this third huge formula because you've already memorized two of them. The first one was how to find the axis of symmetry, or the point right in the middle of our parabola. And the other one is b squared minus 4ac, which is the discriminant. I guess I'll have my b's both be the same. The quadratic formula is just the combination of those two. So look, here's the axis of symmetry, here's the discriminant, and the quadratic formula is just going to be that. It's just a combination of the two. It's negative b plus or minus, right? Yeah, that's my bad. And anytime we put a square root symbol, we need a plus or minus symbol. So plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. It is a big formula. It's huge, but it's not brand new. It's just a combination of the two that we've already seen. We're merging them together. And this quadratic formula will always tell me where the x-intercepts are, right? We could factor it, so that our factor is equal to 0. We did all of that. But what if it's a goofy number? What if it's an irrational number, we call it, right? Then you wouldn't be able to factor. Not everything had factors. Two numbers that multiply to 7 and add to 5. There are no two numbers that do that, but it doesn't mean there's not x-intercepts. The x-intercepts are still here, so this quadratic formula will always work, no matter what. If you could just do one, you wouldn't even have to factor. If you knew how to do this, well, it will always give you the answers. So let's go through one little practice together, how it will work, and then we'll do work on that worksheet, and I'll hopefully be done with this inside of 10 minutes is my goal. I want to use the quadratic formula to solve this equation. Let's go 4x squared minus 5x minus 1 equals 0. We're trying to solve this equation. To solve this equation, we would think we could try to do the x method, but we're doing the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula will always work, where the x method might not always work. So the first thing we're going to do this is figure out what is a, b, and c. You notice up here, there's a lot of a, b's, and c's flying around the quadratic formula. So we just need to label that. So a is always the first coefficient, the leading coefficient, just the number itself, no x's. B is the linear coefficient, so negative 5 in this case, no x's. And then c is always that constant, negative 1. That's step 1. That's learning how to fall correctly with tackling. Okay, and the step 2 for us then, as we ramp this up a little bit, is to find the discriminant. B squared minus 4ac. We did a whole worksheet. We did a whole video. We did a bunch of practice with this. So we are going to do b squared minus 4ac. B squared minus 4ac. And then we're just going to fill in what those values are. Here, let me switch colors. So I can look over here and say, oh, well, b is negative 5, a is 4, and c is negative 1. Awesome. From my trick earlier, from my earlier video, we can count minus signs here with this. There's 2 minus signs, 2 negatives. So I can just make these both positive. Okay. We actually don't even need to mess with this one because we're always squaring b squared. So it's always going to be positive. We don't even need to mess with this, okay? Positive 25, 5 squared. And then we have 4 times 1, that's 16. 25 plus 16. Well, 25 plus 16 is 41. Awesome. So now we found A, B, and C, step 1. Step 2 is to find the discriminant, 41. Awesome. Now step 3 is going to be to fill in these things where they go. So I'm going to look at my formula. I have negative b plus or minus the square root of the discriminant that we just found all over 2a. Negative b over 2a. That thing's in there. So now let's just fill in this stuff. This goes negative b from this formula, negative b. So b is already negative 5, so I'm just going to put negative 5 in there. There's b. So negative b plus or minus the square root of the discriminant. Well, we just found the discriminant. The discriminant is 41. All over 2a. And a for us is 4. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Next, yeah, that's a long problem. I'm making a big deal about this for a reason. Step 4 is to clean this up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up the denominator, or the numerator and denominator, and say, okay, negative 5. That's just 5, plus or minus. Now I'm going to jam this in my calculator. What is the square root of 41? Square root of 41. 6.403. 6.403. Okay. All over 2 times 4 is 8. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Now the last little step of this is to do 2 separate problems. One of them is 5 plus 6.403 divided by 8, and one is 5 minus 6.403 divided by 8. Now you got to be careful with how you plug this in your calculator, okay? We're just going to put the numerator in parentheses, okay? So numerator will be 5 plus 6.403 and close it. There's the numerator. Then I'm going to divide by 8. That's one of my answers. 1.43. That one actually is not irrational, but it's a big ugly decimal, so we're going to leave it there. Then the other one, open a parentheses. 5 minus 6.403 divided by 8, and we get our other answer, which is negative 1.75. Done. And we did the quadratic formula. Okay? Remember what's happening here. This is a happy face that has this and this. It looks like this. We're asking what are the x-intercepts. They're right here. One's at 1.43 and one's at negative 0.175. That's what we're doing. We're finding the x-intercepts. Awesome. Let's get your worksheet out. Let's do the first one together, and then the rest of them are for you to do. So we have our quadratic formula. I have it all broken up for you in here to follow the steps. So let's check it out. A, B, and C. Let's label them. 2, 4, negative 5. Right now, extra credit to write your name twice on top of your paper. Name times 2. Extra credit if you write it twice up there. Okay. So A, B, C. We want B squared minus 4AC. All I do is fill in the numbers. BAC, BAC. Fill them in where they need to go. Now let's figure out what that equals. 16. I have a minus here and a minus here. That's 2 minuses. So that gets to be a plus. Plus. 4 times 2 times 5, that's 40. 16 plus 40, 56. Step 1, learning how to fall. Step 2, running and learning how to fall. We're tackling, right? And now we're going to fill in the quadratic formula, which was handy and written for us right here. Negative b, so I'm going to look for b, put it in there, plus or minus the square root of the discriminant. We already found that, 56. All over 2a. A is 2. Cool. So now let's look at the top. The top is going to be negative 4 plus the square root of 56. I'm going to jam that in my calculator right now. The square root of 56 is 7.48, all divided by 4. So I'm doing one side for the plus sign, and then I just want to do the same thing for the minus sign. Negative 4 minus 7.48 over 4. Last step is to just jam these in my calculator. With parentheses, negative 4 plus 7.48. You could use Desmos too, divided by 4. One of my answers, 0.87. The other one, negative 4 minus 7.48. Ooh, I didn't use parentheses. And look, I'm not going to use parentheses. I'm going to show you guys. There's that answer. But look what happens if I use parentheses. Negative 4 minus 7.48 divided by 4. 2 different answers, and guess what? The one with parentheses is the right answer, negative 0.287. The calculator goes in the wrong order unless I put parentheses around it. There you go. There's your first one. Have at it. Rip through it. Right under 10 minutes. If I stop talking in 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, moving on.